Have you ever thought about how easy it is to disappear into a crowd on Halloween? All you need is a mask. That's it. You can be anyone. People smile, wave, take pictures with you, never asking who you really are. On that night, no one cares where you came from. I realized that last autumn, and ever since, I can't look at a crowd of costumes without feeling my stomach twist. Because one Halloween night, I saw something I can't unsee. It happened in a little Massachusetts town called Fox Hollow. A normal October night. Bonfire smoke, laughter echoing through the streets, kids running around with pumpkin buckets. I was living alone in an old house on the edge of town, near the woods. The kind of house that creaks like it's breathing. My neighbors were throwing a big Halloween party. Loud music, lights, laughter. I stayed home. I just wanted quiet. I turned on the TV, opened a window to let in the crisp air, and listened to the distant sounds of the holiday. Children shouting, "Trick or treat." Dogs barking. Muffled laughter fading down the street. It was peaceful, until I heard the first knock. It was soft, hollow, like knuckles on old wood. I figured it was some late trick-or-treaters and ignored it. Then it came again. 3 knocks, slow, even. I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. There was a man standing there. He wore a long black cloak and a white mask. Not the cheap plastic kind, but smooth and porcelain-like, with a thin painted smile and deep, dark eye holes. He stood completely still, holding a candy bag in one hand. No movement, no breathing. "Sorry guys, I'm out of candy," I said through the door. No response. He just tilted his head to the side, like he was studying me through the wood. Then he slowly raised his hand, and waved. A lazy, unsettling wave. I blinked, and he was gone. 10 minutes later, the lights flickered, then went out. I thought a fuse had blown. I grabbed my flashlight and headed to the kitchen. And that's when I saw him again. He was standing across the street. Still. Just standing there, staring at the house. The candy bag was gone. I lifted my phone to record, but the camera wouldn't focus. The image wavered, like the air between us had thickened. And when I blinked again, he was gone. I don't remember when the fear really set in. Every creak sounded like a step. Every whisper of wind felt like breathing. I locked the doors, closed every window, sat on the floor, flashlight shaking in my hand. My phone said 12:42 a.m., then 3 knocks, again. But this time, from inside, not the front door. From the back of the house, my chest went cold. I turned the flashlight toward the hallway, and froze. There were footprints on the floor, wet, clear, like someone had just come in from the rain. And the air smelled strange. Sweet, almost syrupy, like spilled caramel. Then I saw him, at the end of the hallway, same mask, same cloak, standing in the dark, head tilted, silent. He didn't move, didn't speak. The flashlight beam trembled over the wall, and that's when I saw something scratched into the wood, rough and uneven. You opened it, then everything went black. I don't remember running. I woke up the next morning on a neighbor's lawn. The front door of my house was wide open. Inside, nothing. No footprints, no mask, no writing. The police said it was a prank, maybe drunk kids. But I know what I saw. No human can stand that still. No human leaves wet footprints on a dry floor. Since then, I don't open the door on Halloween. I turn off the lights, close the blinds, and wait for morning. But sometimes, even through the curtains, I see a white shape standing by the window. And if I listen closely enough, I still hear 3 quiet knocks. Just 3. Sometimes a camera remembers more than you do. It doesn't care what it's allowed to see. It just looks, and if you stare into the lens long enough, it starts staring back. My name's Thomas Ray. I'm a photographer from a small town in Oregon called Ravenwood. I shoot everything. Parties, weddings, school events, sometimes even funerals. Nothing glamorous, nothing special, but it pays the bills. Photography to me was always simple. Light, focus, composition. Just capturing life, until last Halloween. That's when I learned there are things you should never try to capture. I'd been hired to shoot the town's big annual Halloween party. It was the usual chaos. Lights, music, laughter, fake fog, everyone in masks and cheap costumes. I wandered through the crowd, snapping away. Happy faces, dancing bodies, glowing pumpkins. Nothing out of the ordinary. Later that night, I went home, made coffee, sat down to look through the shots. And that's when I saw it. In one of the photos, a crowd near the stage, fireworks overhead. There was a man, standing in the corner. No costume, no mask, just a dark coat and a pale, blurred face, like it had been washed out by light. At first, I thought it was a glitch, maybe lens flare or motion blur. But in the next photo, he was closer. I kept scrolling. He was in every single picture, sometimes in the background, sometimes right behind people, and always with the same strange half smile, as if trying not to laugh. I checked the timestamps, the EXIF data, all normal. Every shot taken by me, seconds apart. Then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. In one photo, he was standing exactly where I had been, seconds earlier. The same angle, the same spot. For the next few days, I couldn't shake it off. I felt watched. When I walked down the street, I could swear someone was following me. I'd catch a reflection behind me in shop windows, a familiar silhouette. But every time I turned, nothing. When I went back through my archives, I realized this wasn't the first time I'd seen him. He'd been there for years, in old wedding photos, birthday parties, graduations. Always at the edge of the frame, a shadow in a window, a figure reflected in glass, a face blurred behind the crowd. It was him. Always him. I began zooming in, studying the images pixel by pixel. And the more I looked, the clearer his face became, until I realized it wasn't someone else's face. It was mine. I froze. No tricks, no edits. I hadn't used a timer or tripod. I couldn't have been in the frame. I deleted everything. Every file, every backup. I wiped the hard drives, threw the memory card away. I told myself I was just tired. That's what I needed to believe. A week later, the town museum called. They wanted me to photograph a new exhibition. I hesitated, but money was tight. I said yes. The museum was old, built in the 1800s. The air smelled like dust and varnish. I walked through the halls, taking shots of the displays, adjusting light, checking reflections. When I aimed the lens at a tall mirror, I saw him, standing right behind me. I spun around. Nothing. Lifted the camera again. He was closer now, staring at me. Then, without touching anything, the flash fired. Click, click, click. Again and again, I ran. When I got home, I tried opening the files. Most were corrupted, unreadable. Except one. It showed me in the museum, holding my camera. And behind me, the man in the coat, reaching out toward my shoulder. In the corner of the image, beneath the metadata, there was a new entry. Author, Thomas Ray, 2. I moved out within a week. Sold the camera, deleted all my work, left town. But you can't outrun what's already inside the lens. Yesterday morning, I found an envelope on my doorstep. No name, no return address. Inside was a photograph. I'm standing in my kitchen, facing the window. In the background, a dark figure holding a camera. Both of us wearing the same model. I've noticed something strange about the photo. Every day it changes, just slightly. My face grows older. The shadow behind me moves closer. By the 10th day, there was only one face left in the picture. Not mine. His. Now I hear faint clicking sounds at night. Soft, constant, like a shutter being pressed somewhere behind me. I don't turn around anymore, because I think I finally understand. He's not photographing me. I'm the one on the other side of the lens now. The last thing I remember, a flash, blinding white. Click, then darkness. P.S. If you ever come across an old camera, model Rayworks 2005, don't touch it. On the body, you'll see an engraving. Thomas Ray, my name. You know, I've always loved Halloween. That smell of damp leaves, the cool air, the smoke from bonfires, the laughter of kids echoing through the streets. When you're little, it feels like magic. A night when you can be anything. A vampire, a ghost, a superhero, and nobody judges you. I grew up in a small town called Greenfield, Massachusetts. The kind of town you only see in old postcards. Picket fences, old houses, the church bell on the hill, and everyone knowing everyone else's business. But there was one place people didn't talk about. The house on Willow Road. You could drive down the whole street, and suddenly the light just died. The fog was always thicker there, the air heavier, and even the birds refused to sing. The house sat on a small hill, slanted, its windows like hollow eyes. The old folks whispered that the Marlowe family had lived there. Father, mother, and a boy about 10 years old. Then, one night in 1989, they all just disappeared. No trace, no signs of struggle, nothing. The cops said maybe they'd left town, but everyone knew. Nobody leaves dinner on the table with the lights still on. I was 17 when it happened. My last Halloween before graduation. My friends, Jenny, Tom, Chris, Mel, the Brown twins, and me. We wanted that year to be legendary. It was Tom's idea. He said, "Let's go to the house on Willow Road. Just a quick look, a few pictures, a little story to tell." "Come on, it'll be fun," I laughed. I really thought it would be fun. We got there a little past midnight. The fog rolled low across the ground, thick as the ocean. Streetlights flickered out one by one behind us, like candles being snuffed out. I remember the crunch of leaves under my boots and the way Jenny held my hand. Not too tight, but with that quiet, nervous kind of grip. When we reached the gate, it slowly opened on its own. No wind, no draft. Just that long, rusty creak, like something whispering, "Come in." The house looked old, but not abandoned. Curtains moved behind the glass, even though the windows were shut. A broken doll lay on the porch, missing its head. I told myself someone had planted it there to scare off kids. Inside, it smelled like rot, mold, and metal. Maybe rust, maybe blood. We turned on our flashlights. At first, we laughed. Tom cracked jokes about ghosts. Chris pretended something was grabbing his leg. But then, everything went silent. At first I thought it was just my ears ringing, but no. The house was completely still. No wind, no creaking floorboards, not even the sound of our footsteps. It was like we'd stepped into another world, where sound didn't exist. The walls were lined with old photographs of the Marlowe family, the father with a stern look, the mother holding the boy's shoulders. But the boy had no eyes. Just two gray hollows, as if someone had rubbed them out with their thumb. I aimed my flashlight closer, and realized none of them had eyes. On one photo, they were carefully cut out. On another, smeared over with black ink. Jenny whispered, "Someone had to do this. Recently." The air felt heavier then. Our flashlights flickered. We heard footsteps upstairs. Slow. Heavy. Something was moving above us. Tom, of course, had to go check it out. I followed. The others stayed downstairs. The staircase creaked like it was ready to collapse. Upstairs was a long hallway and a half-open door. I pushed it, and saw a child's room, frozen in time. Toy cars scattered on the floor, a teddy bear on the bed, books neatly stacked. It was clean, too clean, and on the wall, a mirror. In that mirror stood a boy, the same boy, without eyes. He was behind me, his head tilted slightly. The air around me turned cold. My skin prickled and my heart felt like it stopped. I spun around, no one there. Then came a soft giggle. A child's giggle, from somewhere in the dark. Mel screamed from downstairs. We bolted back down, but when we reached the living room, no one was there. No Tom, no Jenny, no Chris. Only silence. The door we came through was gone. In its place, a smooth wooden wall. I rammed it with my shoulder, then my fists. It didn't budge. And then I realized the house had changed. The photos were gone. In their place were dozens of small handprints. Tiny, smudged, pressed into the wallpaper, like children trying to push their way out. Then, right behind me, a whisper. Raspy, wet, almost inside my ear. "You came to see us. Now you'll see." All the windows shattered at once. Glass rained down. My flashlight went out, and then I heard it. Dozens of tiny footsteps scurrying across the floor. Something cold brushed my face. Something breathing. I couldn't even scream. Then a flash. White light, pain in my skull, and darkness. I woke up on the side of the road, just a few blocks away from Willow Road. No jacket. Hands scraped, fingernails cracked like I'd been clawing at something solid. Locals found me, called an ambulance. The doctors said I'd probably fallen, hit my head, lost my memory. But my friends never came back. Not one of them. The police searched the area, or what was left of it, because the house was gone. Where it had stood was just overgrown land, like it had never existed. No foundation, no wood, no trace. 10 years have passed. Every Halloween, I wake up at 12:47 a.m. And every time, on my window, there's a small handprint. Tiny. Perfectly shaped. Sometimes 2. Sometimes 3. If you look closely, they're damp. Like someone stood in the rain and pressed their palms against the glass. I tried leaving Greenfield. Thought maybe it was trauma, just my mind replaying what happened. But the prints appear wherever I go. Sometimes I hear footsteps behind me, soft and light, when I walk through my house at night. Sometimes I hear laughter. And once, I saw him again. The boy with no eyes. He was standing in the reflection behind me. He didn't move, just stared. And even when I closed my eyes, the reflection didn't fade. Funny, isn't it? When I was a kid, I wanted to see a real ghost. Now, I just want to stop seeing them. If you're ever in Greenfield, don't go to Willow Road, even if they tell you there's nothing there. Because maybe that's true. Maybe there really is nothing, but that nothing is watching you.